Kundiawa Schools celebrates World Environment Day. Changes to reshape education curriculum. And advanced economies make historic tax deal.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. As the world commemorated World Environment Day yesterday, a small group of people and school children in Kundiawa town gathered to mark the day. The residents of Kundiawa town were encouraged to involve themselves in horticulture and floriculture as a way of making an income. The World Environment Day theme for this year is ecosystem restoration.
Ecosystem restoration.
Students at some schools in the town turned up at Riverside Resort outside Kundiawa town and celebrated the World Environment Day. They put up placards as a way of awareness and campaign against environmental damages caused by development activities.
Because of the love and passion that we have for the environment, and also me kata hobby blooming, finding all plants, collecting all plants. So all the plants come plant apple provinces. So you will see a variety of plants that we have in here.
Town Mayor Tay Kundia encouraged the people of Kundiawa town to involve heavily in horticulture and floriculture as a way of making an income. He said tree planting and involving in agricultural activities will not only help the ecosystem but will improve people's livelihoods.
We must look so important to the environment. And the area must display market, promoting all skills, the talent, God-given skills, the talent, want them. Some area look like market, he look at me lobbies, then look at some space area blue plan. You display more display. All talents blooming, a good person, you produce one more flower.
The World Environment Day celebrations nationwide was hosted by the Conservation, Environment and Protection Authority. A team from SEPA has been in Chimbu province conducting school awareness programs and tree planting.
Surroundings and this beautiful environment that we have, take a moment to pause. How are we looking after our environment? How you mean by straightening down you meet Solanta mountain but go down.
The program is also supported by the USAID Lookout in Ground program.
You look at my mountain, William, you stop now. This range you go, all call him Bismarck Forest Corridor. So United States government, now people in America give some funding inside of 5 years to me Papa walk one time. Government of Papua New Guinea, strong him. All people, how you can look out in bush ground.
The final World Environment Day celebration will be held in Gambok District on Tuesday. Environment, Conservation and Climate Change Minister Wera Mori, including delegates from SEPA and USAID, will officiate the ceremony. Vasanata Yama, National EMTV News, Kundiawa.
Over 400 mangrove seedlings were planted at Alewai Village, Central Province yesterday, facilitated by the Conservation and Environment Protection Authority, or SEPA. Over 200 volunteers joined the Alewai community to help them plant the seedlings. Journalist Lillian Sapera Kenea and camera operator Kiviso Mobi brings us this story.
Over 200 volunteers traveled to Alewai village to plant mangroves yesterday in commemoration of the World Environment Day. A total of 450 mangroves were planted in 3 selected sites, which were seen fit for planting due to high human activity causing a decrease in mangrove trees.
And the people down there suffering, they really need some sort of information or some sort of assistance, and getting down here is really a success. Actually getting out to the field, doing mangrove planting is just one of the many things that we could do, looking at our biodiversity, ecosystem restoration.
Planting mangroves can reduce shoreline erosion and protect coastal communities against coastal flooding, high winds, waves, and tsunamis. Despite their importance, mangrove forests are under threat. Alewai Ward member Kala Carlos Alu can attest to this. He has been doing awareness along the beach line, advising people not to chop mangroves.
Village people in the olden days, people just use mangroves anyhow to carelessness, in today's living, due to climate change, we're trying to restore the mangroves away.
A second-year student from the University of Papua New Guinea says it was a privilege to be part of this initiative.
I will definitely work with the Environment and Protection Authority to protect him, upholding a saving future of this nation, especially Papua New Guinea.
The Alewai community were happy to welcome the volunteers who were there to help them protect their shoreline. The community, through their ward member, are requesting for a mangrove nursery rather than getting seeds from other locations.
And I don't know whether some of them are going to die or some of them are going to grow, because it's a seed from a different area which is going to be grown here. Put up a nursery planting area, nursery area to do our own nurseries rather than getting seeds from other locations,
The Conservation and Environment Protection Authority gave a positive response to their request.
So it will be given a priority where a nursery will be established at the site number 3 in Alewai. So that kind of activity is in the pipeline, and we are happy to roll it out as soon when the minister gives that priority.
This year, the global community is taking major steps to protecting the environment. We cannot turn back time, but we can grow trees, green our cities, change our diets, and clean up rivers and coasts. This is our moment to reimagine, recreate, and restore. Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
More change is expected in Papua New Guinea's education curriculum. Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says this is to ensure core subjects are more relevant to homegrown ideas for both teacher and student. Recent inclusions of a curriculum is financial literacy for the lower and upper primary and the coffee curriculum.
Officers from the curriculum division.
Speaking recently in Port Moresby, the Education Secretary highlighted changes in the country's education curriculum. He described the changes as vital for the sector. Following progressive review, Dr. Kombra says this is a shift to enhance learning in levels of schools.
So over the last few years, as we reform the curriculum from OBE to SBC, we have looked at a curriculum that is relevant for our people in what we call a CCVE, Christian Citizenship Values Education. A curriculum that is relevant to ensure that we ground the moral and ethics and citizenship values in our young people when they grow up from prep up to grade 12.
According to the Education Secretary, since 2013, initial work commenced to improve criticisms regarding curriculums used by schools. With work slowly happening, Dr. Kombra wants a quick shift to introduce local concepts into subject areas. He says a curriculum suitable for PNG's future.
Look at going beyond the normal curriculum, the normal subjects like English and science and mathematics and social science. We have decided under the curriculum reform to look at curriculum and subjects that are relevant for our people.
With more review of the education curriculum scheduled, the changes will also see drastic changes in teacher and students' user handbooks. The recent inclusion is a financial literacy from an understanding with Bank of PNG, and the most recent, the coffee curriculum with Coffee Industry Corporation.
So as we're speaking, we have now gone up to complete the curriculum at the secondary level, the teacher guides and syllabuses. But we will still have to go back to look at reviewing the total resources that we have for students and teachers to use.
Jack Lopava Jr., National EMTV News.
Rigo District of Central Province will continue its commitment to support level of schools in the electorate. Rigo MP Lekwa Gore says an educated population will be decisive and also advance in life. Gore mentioned this while visiting Senunu Elementary School to present 24 set of desks to the learning institution.
Welcome. Welcome.
A small but very significant event for this elementary school. Rigo MP Lekwa Guri and district officials transported the new desks to present to the school. Embracing the district's education plan, the local MP wants to improve learning and add value to give better opportunities for students in the district.
Education is really important because education is the only way that we can empower our young children like this. But it is also good for progressive development.
This remote elementary school opened its new classroom earlier this year. The delivery of the students' desks is a commitment by the district to equip proper facilities for students. MP Gure is confident the new facilities will have an impact to encourage learning.
Because at the end of the day, children are our future assets, and some of them will grow up to be our future leaders as well. So we need to give them the best possible education that we can afford.
With Senunu Elementary School fortunate to be a recipient, its users and school management have been urged to take ownership and ensure the desk serves its purpose and reason. A district education official says many schools need similar assistance.
Let's try to sustain and look after them because they are for the good of our children. Thank you very much.
Jagla Power Jr. National MTV News.
The new framework agreement for Porgera Mine has been presented to Porgera Mine landowners and the Enga provincial government. Prime Minister James Marape and Barrick CEO Mark Bristow were in Payam for this significant occasion. The document is a roadmap to recommence the mine's operation.
After almost a year of hard-fought negotiations between the state and Barrick on the future of Porgera Mine, a decision was reached in the new framework agreement to reopen the mine. The outcome of this agreement was presented to the long-awaited people of Porgera Valley, the landowners and Enga Province. Prime Minister James Marape, upon presenting the handbook, explained the aspects of the agreement. He said the decision reached was in the best interest of the country and for the people of Porgera.
So this framework agreement we giving go today. The headline that's all. We like the same negotiation through negotiation. 51% Papua New Guinea parties were kissing. 49% Barrick have kissing. We like it more because you go today to Porgera, no got Porgera life innocence yet. Or man marry around them, gaman 3 months. Now you know looking through, kake go late na me like him. More come back so that Porgera can kiss him more, Enga kiss him more, Papua New Guinea kiss him more.
With the binding framework agreement presented, the landowners and the Enga provincial government will facilitate discussions on how the 10% equity will be distributed. Enga Governor say Peter Ipatas, who received the handbook, said the provincial government will not be included in the 10% protected or free carried equity portion of the 51% total equity owned by PNG stakeholders.
Me said 10%, and no right of people kiss finish. So let me go on the 5% by Enga provincial government or the rest of Enga. That you play at Sinan Scaling. You blow SML landowners. You blow LMP. You blow affected areas by you Sinan, Naglasin, now talk along this for 10%.
Barrick CEO Mark Bristow highlighted the need for all stakeholders, including the national and provincial government and the landowners, to share the responsibility in successfully delivering the Porgera mine. He cited the challenges that need to be addressed include illegal mining and unlawful acts that is affecting communities and putting the lives of people at risk.
As the Prime Minister says, if you talk, you can solve a problem. If Barrick and the government can find a solution together for the benefit of everyone, so can everyone here work together for the future of Porgera, but more importantly, for the future of Papua New Guinea mining industry.
From the landowner groups and locals, all they want is the mine to be reopened as they entirely depend on it to sustain their lives. They voiced their concerns on the 10% equity to be paid directly to them and not through any entities.
Negotiation team, Provincial Land Owners Association, going past again. Winning this like 10%.
We less we must go in jail. Any third party organization like MRA and MRE, and we benefits must come back in the people.
The state and BNL will continue working on negotiations and the conditions required to recommence the operations. The mine is expected to open before the year ends. Suli, National EMTV News, Pogera.
President of Kutubu LLG in Southern Highlands, John Pipi Kila, is urging for more support from the police hierarchy. The LLG recently bought 2 new police vehicles to assist policing in the area. President Kila thanked Southern Highlands government for their endless support as policing is a key priority.
16,000 men center blomibla Pimanga. So Pimanga government station blomibla. Na mi lagim sabot igam longa commissioner of police David Menin, deputy commissioner please mi lagim sabot blo jutla kam lo mi long help him some policeman number stab of Himanga station.
National EMTV News continues with more, with this week's a closer look on housing rentals in Papua New Guinea. Details after the break. Welcome back. Papua New Guinea is currently gripped with a housing crisis. For over 30 years, successive governments have overlooked the issue, with the situation going from bad to worse. The responsible government body, the National Housing Corporation, faced with corruption and ill management, unable to take the lead. And as PNG's population increases, the urban centres are faced with bigger problems of accommodating an increasing population in limited and expensive accommodation. In this segment of A Closer Look, we'll look at the current housing crisis, the issues related to it, and how this government plans to address it.
Annette began working in Port Moresby 6 years ago. She just moved into this rental accommodation at one of the most expensive parts of Port Moresby, downtown Port Moresby.
Town was considered safe for me, I would say. A decent spot because it's closer to the banks and the shops and the police stations.
She pays 300 kina fortnight for this room she shares with a stranger.
I have to share with another girl, and there's not so much privacy though, because where we're staying it's sort of like a dormitory setting, except that that's the only place I can afford to rent right now. I have no choice but to share with somebody else in the same room. About 40 girls are sharing the same ablution and the kitchen.
Annette is one of many young Papua New Guineans who see no relief to the high rental cost in the short term.
The costing is a main factor why a lot of people are still living with their parents at home. If rental accommodations could put it at a decent price, I'm sure we'd avoid circumstances like this.
In the other parts of Port Moresby, many who work in town come looking for affordable accommodation in settlements like this. The housing standards vary and the largely informal housing market doesn't follow a standard regulation. Priscilla Siski lives in work settlement with her husband and 3 children. She says the high rentals and difficulties faced with living with relatives forced her to come here.
Same house there. I'm living house. I'm more content wara stop. I'm not shop wara. I'm living cap table. I'm cook longan. All beginners are sleep here. I'm beginning Monday sleep outside here. Living house veranda. Okay. Inside the room here. I'm going girls sleep inside. I'm going to bank up here. So, fortnight no man Man walk ta so for night no man and me no enough lo. Afford him good house for him sleep lo.
Priscilla lives in this side of the work settlement. Work settlement is located right in the heart of 4 Mile, a thriving central business area in Port Moresby. Where she lives borders Murray Barracks. It is state land but over time encroached with squatters. The huge contrast is obvious in the ad hoc arrangements of housing compared to Murray Barracks, where you see a neatly spaced housing. Another huge difference is access to clean water and electricity.
Mi saksi wara lo ya. No gat wara. Mi saksi wara mi play digging hole wara sem. Mi play saksi. Kisi mo sem. Now me plus isi lo toilet. Wash na washing clothes.
The debate over the cost of rentals in Papua New Guinea has been ongoing since the 1990s, when there was a noticeable spike in accommodation needs in Port Moresby. After the housing giveaway scheme, the primary government housing provider, the National Housing Corporation, has lagged behind in any of its attempt to provide suitable, affordable accommodation for Papua New Guineans. The government has also been unable to stem the steady climb of accommodation cost over the 30 years.
The National Housing Corporation policy is outdated, and we are currently working on it as we speak.
You know, in the outset, let me be clear that we do have a housing crisis. Yeah, that is an issue that you can see all over, particularly within the urban areas. We're seeing an influx of the population. So there is a shortage of housing. And in that sense, we have issues with housing affordability, high prices of houses for those houses that are existing in the current market, and then we have these the increasing informal settlements that are popping up, and these are more or less symptoms, indications of there is an underlying issue here.
The National Research Institute has published various papers on the housing problem and its possible solutions. Dr. Lindsay Kutan, a senior research fellow and the program leader for Sustainable Land Development Program with PNG NRI, in a report says it's basic supply and demand concept, but the government needs to take the lead role in policies that will bring down rental costs and address the crisis. Many of the research suggested private sector involvement.
Let the private sector go down into the construction of houses. So those were one of the key recommendations. But over time, from our research, we found that, yes, the recommendations were endorsed by NEC, yet haven't been implemented.
For Papua New Guinea, there are two key factors that restrict the reduction of rental prices and the purchase cost of houses: the availability of land and financing.
Grappling with those issues in terms of shortage of state land for development purposes, particularly with housing construction and all that, which is also leading to the high prices and affordability issues.
With much of the land held by customary owners, it has placed the Lands Department in a tight spot. It is unable to make quick decisions on customary land use, and the banks are unwilling to invest in projects built on customary land because they don't have state titles.
But we have an issue because in Port Moresby and Lae, the urban centres, we're nearly running out of state land.
This government says housing is a priority, and they are trialling several options, also encouraging customary land partnership.
A couple of solutions to it, but one of the key priorities of this government and myself as the lands minister, I've been trying to make certain that we partner with people like Namban Super. This one with Namban Super is the first of its kind that we're trialling now. That's at 9 Mile, proper housing estates. We also, because land is getting scarce in our urban areas, we're looking at the customary landowners who are willing to participate with us. And one of the areas is Roku, which the landowners, we've recently given the landowners their title with the developer.
I've signaled our lands minister not to issue any more land, big parcel of state land available out to anyone. We keep it, we will subdivide it. And our first instance is to the Papuans who are working. We'll give you titles and you could build your own home to it, attached with the BSV home loan program or other home loan programs that we will do so.
The main objective is we must have roofs over the heads of Papua New Guineans so they can live in a safe and sound environment. So this policy has been worked on by our management and staff, and we look forward, hopefully by the end of the year, to come out with the guidelines and what we plan to do now and into the future.
For Annette and Priscilla, the pain of the 30-year-long housing crisis will continue unless drastic action is taken in all fronts of the economy.
Population won't wait for anybody. So it will increase and it will increase. So we must put some measures now to control, to have some form of solutions to this crisis that we're having.
It saddens me to see that a lot of young women and men are still living with their parents at home. They just don't have that much of a choice to move out at the moment. It's a really sad circumstance for most young men and women in PNG. I would suggest that something be done about this. It's a really big concern. Eventually, you just don't want to be living with your parents anymore, and you'd have to move out at some point. Except that it's not happening right now.
Hopes blue of future blood. You like him beginning blue of start with this kind of situation.
No. Me like us and beginning must school big girl must school good now. I must look how situation now life me pla been struggle or city. Life am also on them. So me like I'm changing way of our.
National EMTV News continues with more after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. NCD Governor Pos Pakop has made a commitment to support SME women associations in the Mosby South electorate. Over 25,000 women of Mosby South who are officially registered members will become beneficiaries of a funding commitment by NCD Governor. Cadet journalist Alexia Sengi with more.
NCD Governor Pos Pakop made 3 commitments to be achieved in partnership with the Office of Mosby South Electorate. Those 3 commitments are to assist small to medium entrepreneurs, women in the district. One of the commitments is to create a revolving fund scheme.
For example, you may give you 20 kina, you use him to start up, okay, back him 20 kina, narpla mama by simke. You may clear, huh? Emi no loan, emi also revolving fund. He gonna come now, he go okay the line.
The second commitment is to set up a reward scheme. The scheme is aimed at recognizing participants saving in SME and reward them accordingly. That means if you do better, you get double the amount you saved.
If your saving, for example, have gone up to, let's say, 5,000, we might top it up and give you a 5,000. You are doing well, so Nipla giving you 5,000. You make clear there's a mechanism now, huh? Emlo, you buy Kagatin, you buy work hard, you saw the governor by giving you top up.
The third one is to set up a service center that would cater for the problems women face in running their SME. Those programs would be achieved through partnership between Mosby South MP and NCD Governor as in the previous years.
When we empower women, we empower families, communities, we empower our district, we empower our province, we empower the nation. That equation, we must get it right.
Mosby South MP says Governor Pos Pakop's continuous support and collaboration with him has seen Mosby South being developed.
We wanted to make sure you were an equal part of our electorate. We wanted to make sure that you were recognized. We wanted to make sure that the responsibility and the commitment and the initiative from me was to empower you and make you also as equal as everybody else in our community.
Alexis Sengi, National EMTV News.
The West New Britain Provincial Health Authority has successfully completed a quarantine facility. The facility has a maximum capacity of 72 to 100 patient beds. The quarantine facilities hope to serve its purpose to safeguard and improve health services as West New Britain people face the escalating threat of COVID-19. The facility is constructed by local contractor RMI and was given a washdown in preparation for opening. According to health authorities in Kimbe, this quarantine facility is designed according to health standards. Trukai Sports is next. All the details after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The 2021 Digital Cup season finally got underway this weekend with matches kicking off in Port Moresby and Lae, with players and officials from the franchise teams rearing to take to the field after several weeks of delay. The country's premier domestic competition commenced under new health and safety protocols. Most notably, spectators will not be allowed to attend matches, which will be held behind closed doors.
The Egmark Rabaul Gurias and the JPG Wagitumbe kicked off round one of the Digital Cup in Port Moresby at the National Football Stadium. Both teams were eager to get off to a winning start this season, which sees the competition operating under new health and safety protocols due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Wagitumbe captain Joe Frank scored the first points of the game, crossing over in the 4th minute. The Gurias hit back with their first try through former PNG hunter Silas Kohuna to level the score at 6-all after 10 minutes.
That's what I used to talk to him in the field and training field, like, you need to lead by example. As a skipper, you need to play hard. That's what I used to tell him.
Micah Tom gave the lead back to Wagitumbe, crossing the line 5 minutes later. The Gurias closed the gap with a try through Elias Stanley, but with a missed conversion attempt, Wagitumbe held on to the lead, going into halftime 12 points to 10. In the second half, Wagitumbe turned up the heat, scoring 4 tries, including 3 to 5'8" Saki Peter. The Gurias managed to cross the line with 2 tries of their own, but it wasn't enough, as Wagitumbe managed to subdue the spirited Gurias outfit, defeating the Rabaul side 32 points to 20.
I bring a lot of experienced players like Super Kokote is a former Engamioks, Valentine Wamdi, Wawa Paul is former Antas and former Engamioks. So I bring them in, so they boost the team morale.
Huxley Lovai, Trukai Sports.
The member associations of Papua New Guinea Football Association were finally granted approval to resume football activities and competition. But PNGFA General Secretary Pius Letenge said there will not be any spectators allowed at any one time, except the players, officials and management personnel who are allowed within the playing grounds.
After 6 months of waiting, the Papua New Guinea Football Association was finally granted approval to resume its football activities and competition at the member association level. PNGFA General Secretary Pius Letenge said while football fans celebrate the resumption of football, competition comes with strict restrictions, which must be complied with under the new Pelapasin protocol measures during the competition period. Letenge stressed that it is initial requirement that all PNGFA sanctioned competitions at member association level will not allow spectators within the vicinity of the playing ground. He added that there will not be any spectators at any one time at member association venues except the players, officials and management personnel who are allowed within the playing ground. He said if any member associations do not comply with these new Pelapasin measures, the controller will not hesitate to terminate the local competition. Fidelis Sukina, Trukai Sports.
The Women in League Development Program in the Moresby South Electorate has received a financial backing of 20,000 kina from North Build Construction Limited. The funding will assist the Women in League programs. North Build Construction says women must be given equal support in a code where men have reigned. The funding was recently presented at the Moresby South Stadium.
All too often around the world, women are the poor cousins. They don't get the same level of support and exposure as men's sport. So it was with Minister's guidance that we felt as a company that we had a corporate responsibility, and we've decided to support the Moresby South Women's Rugby League Advancement Program.
As you can see, we've got a fantastic facility here that is available for not only the men but also the women teams, because under the Moresby South Rugby League criteria, every club that participates in the Moresby South Rugby League must have a women's team as well. Gender equality, promote our women.
And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details coming up next.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast for this afternoon and tonight in the southern region. Cloudy with a few showers right across the region in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema, Alotau and Popondita. In the Mamasi region, a few showers in Leiwiwak and Vanimo, showers in Wau and cloudy with a shower or two in Medang. In the New Guinea Islands region, cloudy with some showers in Lorengau, Kavieng and Kimbe, some brief showers in Kokopo and Rabaul, and partly cloudy weather in Buka. And in the Highlands region, cloudy with a few showers right across the region in Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for today, Sunday, the 6th of June, 2021. From all of us here at EMTV, have a safe working week, pleasant viewing and good night.